What if I told you that the single greatest superpower for achieving any goal isn't found in a viral trend, a secret algorithm, or a sudden stroke of luck? It's something profoundly simple, often dismissed as boring, and yet it's the very engine behind every lasting success story you've ever admired. This is a story about the transformative, almost magical power of discipline and consistency, not as a theory, but as a daily practice that builds empires from the ground up, brick by mundane brick. Imagine the darkest hour of the morning, 4:45 a.m., in a small studio apartment that smells of old coffee and quiet ambition. The alarm screams into the stillness, a brutal interruption to warm dreams. This is Leo's world. For years, Leo felt like a ghost in the machine of a city that celebrates overnight sensations and instant gratification. His dream, to write a novel, a dream so common it felt cliché. And yet to him, it was everything. But Leo had a radical hypothesis, a quiet rebellion against the culture of hustle porn and quick fixes. He believed that real success was a form of alchemy, transforming the lead of daily effort into the gold of achievement through the slow, steady heat of consistency. And so, his revolution began not with a bang, but with a whisper, a promise to himself to write 500 words every single morning. No exceptions, no negotiations. The first victory was simply getting his feet on the cold floor. Then came the ritual, water a few stretches in the dark, and the clicking open of a laptop that held 6 previous failed novels in a folder marked Learning. The blank page was a tyrant, a void that shouted his insecurities back at him. Who did he think he was? But discipline isn't the absence of doubt. It's the decision to act despite it. His fingers would hover, and then they would move. Some days the words flowed like a clear river. Most days they were sludge, pulled one painful sentence at a time from the depths of exhaustion. He wrote them anyway, 500. Every morning, while the city slept, Leo was building his world, one sentence at a time. His days were a study in deliberate monotony, a shift stacking cans and produce at Green's grocery, a job that paid the rent but starved the soul. Yet Leo turned it into his laboratory, observing the hunched shoulders of the elderly man buying a single banana, the frantic love in a young mother's voice, the secret language of couples fighting in the cereal aisle, all fuel for his imagination, scribbled in a cheap notebook on his 15-minute break. Evenings were for study, not scrolling, an hour dissecting the paragraphs of his literary heroes, learning the architecture of suspense, the music of dialogue. He saved a tiny, non-negotiable portion of every paycheck, watching his freedom fund grow with glacial patience. He said no to late nights that would sabotage his morning sanctuary. To friends, he became a mildly boring mystery. Come on, live a little, they'd say. But Leo was living for something bigger than a single night. He was building a life, and construction requires a blueprint and daily labor. And then came the rejections, dozens of them, emails that arrived like tiny, precise assassinations of hope. Not for us, doesn't fit our list. We wish you the best elsewhere. Each one carried the weight of a year of silent mornings. Leo had a ritual for these, too. He allowed himself exactly 1 hour to feel the full, crushing weight of it. He'd buy a single scoop of vanilla ice cream, sit on his fire escape, and let the disappointment wash over him. And then, with the cone finished, he'd let it go. He'd file the rejection email in his growing digital cemetery, open his manuscript and edit. He finished novel 7. He began novel 8. The years stacked up like his silent pages. 3, 4, 5. His discipline had become his identity, the spine that held him upright. Then the earthquake, a corporate memo, a handshake from a weary manager, automation. His job, the bedrock of his frugal existence, was gone. The panic was instant, a cold flood in his veins. This was the part in the movie where the dreamer breaks, where the montage ends and reality wins. He sat on the edge of his bed that night, staring at the alarm clock as it ticked toward 4:45 a.m. The voice in his head was a roar. What's the point? The dream is over, you failed. Asterisk. When the alarm blared, his hand hovered over it. This was the ultimate test. And then, something deeper than fear, deeper than logic, took over. It was muscle memory forged in thousands of dawns. He did not hit snooze, he sat up. He put his feet on the floor. In that moment, his routine wasn't a task. It was a lifeline, his discipline. Once the builder of his dream, now became its emergency shelter. He wrote his 500 words that morning with a new, raw, desperate honesty. He treated the job search with the same systematic rigor as his writing, applications as daily word counts, networking as editing, skill courses as research. He was rebuilding the foundation, using the same tools. Months passed in this new, harder rhythm than an email. Not a rejection, but a request for a full manuscript from a small, respected indie press. His heart didn't soar. It hammered with a wary, weathered hope. A phone call followed. The editor's voice was thoughtful. "There's a real voice here," she said. "The structure needs work, but the craft, it's remarkably polished." Polished. That word echoed. Polishing doesn't happen in a flash of inspiration. It happens over 10,000 repetitions, the slow wearing away of everything that isn't essential. Leo attacked the revision with the same monastic focus, a final, concentrated application of his lifelong method. The offer came on a rainy Tuesday. It wasn't a fortune, but it was a door swinging open on its hinges. The publication party was in a cramped, warm bookstore, the air smelling of paper and possibility. Holding a copy of the quiet build his own name etched on the spine, Leo looked out at the small crowd. The feeling wasn't euphoria, it was a deep, resonant certainty. The victory wasn't this moment of recognition. The victory was the 10,000 unseen moments that led here. Every early alarm, every declined distraction, every written word when no one was watching. In his short speech, his voice was steady. "They say success is a journey, not a destination," he said. "I've learned it's even simpler than that. Success is a rhythm. It's the beat you choose, day after day, long before anyone else hears the music." The next morning at 4:45 a.m., in the familiar dark of his apartment, the alarm sounded once more. Leo opened his eyes. A small, peaceful smile touched his lips. He rose, sat at his desk, and opened a new document. The title read, "New_project_draft_1." He typed the first word. For him, this was never about reaching an endpoint. It was about honoring the process that had set him free. His discipline was no longer a grind. It was his gravity, the force that grounded him and allowed him to build towers. So what's your 500 words? What's the single, small, repeatable action that, if you did it without fail, would change the trajectory of your life? It won't be glamorous, it will be boring. It will be hard, you will want to quit 1,000 times. But the magic isn't in the intensity of a single day's effort. It's in the inexorable accumulation of all the days that follow. Start today, not with an explosion, but with a decision. And then, tomorrow do it again, be boring. Be relentless, be consistent. Watch as the world, slowly and then all at once, bends to the will of your unwavering daily practice. That is how you build a legacy. That is how you build a life.